From beautiful East Tennessee in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, you are listening to the Sherry Voluntary Show. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Okay, so my guest today is Mr. Zachary Taylor. He is a social media strategist, a fur dad, and a veteran. Zach has turned his obsession with human behavior on the internet into a path for activism by becoming the publicity chair for the Roads to Freedom Foundation. He has served as PR director for the Libertarian Party of Nebraska and co-hosts a podcast for the Roads of Liberty group. So welcome to the show, Zachary. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. I love that you put fur dad in there because I happen to. I saw that on your profile picture you have a dog. Is that correct? Do you have any cats?
So we have 3 dogs, a pigeon, 2 guinea pigs, and 2 turtles.
Wow. But no cats?
No. So I am not a cat person. I don't like cats.
I don't know. I don't know about this interview anymore. I am a total cat person. I'll forgive you. Dogs they're cool, but they're not cats, so that's cool though. We can still be friends. You're a libertarian, okay. That works out. So I just wanted to maybe talk about you a little bit before we get into the UnConvention, which is really interesting. As I was checking out the site, I just thought that it looks like a really good time. I just have to say.
Yeah. But the UnConvention is the fun convention.
Yeah, that should be like the tagline on there.
That's one of my podcasting partners started saying that, and I've stolen it I taxed it from him.
Very good. So what is your podcast name, by the way?
So the one I do is Guardians of Liberty, but it's in the Roads to Liberty podcast network.
Okay, cool. So they can catch that, I guess, on the Road to Freedom site, or?
So here's the thing. We confused ourselves with this one because there's the Roads to Freedom Foundation, which is the think tank that is putting on the UnConvention, and I'm the publicity director, PR, new media director. That's what I do.
Okay, new media.
Yeah,
sounds
fancy.
Like
a cool title.
Yeah.
So that's one organization. The Roads to Liberty podcast is another, and that website is roads2liberty.com, and then we're on every platform that I can get myself on, basically.
Yeah, I hear you. I know that's the thing, is trying to figure out how many you can get on and keep up with. That's the other thing, is keeping up with them all. So I saw that you are a vet, a veteran, not a veterinarian. What branch did you serve in?
I was Army, but air defense, which is kind of its own little world.
Okay. So is that something that brought you to libertarianism, or were you already a libertarian? How did that play into it?
I already had libertarian tendencies, and to be edgy, I had already become a libertarian.
Sure.
Although I really didn't understand the philosophy as much. I thought that the Republican Party didn't really represent me anymore, and I certainly wasn't a Democrat, so I was going to be a libertarian. And then the Army made me realize that I hate government so much. Like, nothing like being in the beast will make you hate it.
Yeah, that's why I even asked, because so many libertarians I know, myself being a voluntarist, so many of the people that I know that are of the same mindset were in the military, and that's what made them libertarians. So it seems to be a common theme. And that I have basically the same story, that, I was a Republican, and I was a pretty full-on neocon. And the military could do no wrong, and we should be everywhere policing everything. And I got fed up with the Republican Party. I felt like they had sort of left me. And then I thought I was a libertarian for a long time, didn't realize there was a philosophy, and then found out there was a philosophy that went with it. And that was when my world really got rocked. So that was a good thing, though. I'm glad it happened. So now, and you also said that you have an obsession with human behavior on the internet specifically. So what do you mean by that? What is that? How did that lead you to the path of activism?
so the way people act online is, you get the keyboard warrior thing.
Yeah.
And you'll get these people who will spout off with things that they would never say in real life. And you can look up who you're arguing with, and you see someone, it's like, look, I can look in your eyes in this picture, and I know that you're not this tough person.
Right.
Why are you acting like this? So for a long time, you either engage with it and kind of troll them a little bit, or something I started doing was kind of subverting the conversation and trying to draw them into a real discussion, which I think is what we should be doing.
Sure.
And I'm not perfect about always doing that, I'll admit.
Yeah. Some people are just too fun not to troll.
Yeah. But it kind of got to a point where I like to just sit back and watch how people react to things, and then engineer how they're going to react to things, because I have to work very hard to not be a manipulative person, because it is in my nature. It is a fault I have, and it's something that I have to constantly be on guard with. Well, I figure being manipulative isn't terrible if it's channeled the right way.
Sure.
And so I'm like, well, let's see if I can make something positive of this.
Yeah.
And I've been pretty good so far. So.
Yeah, I think that's true. I remember reading, I don't remember what it was I was reading, but basically that every human interaction is a manipulation of some sort, because we all have things we want or need, and we need other people to kind of come along with us on that. So, we are always manipulating. Manipulation in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just, like you said, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're just trying to accomplish cooperation and put things in the best light, then that's one thing. But if you're, trying to con people and, there's a fine line.
I'm always trying to manipulate people into thinking more.
Yes.
Or thinking from a new avenue.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I think, like you said, online we can tend to be a little bit more brutal than we necessarily would be otherwise. So it's always good to remember that there's a person on the other side. And I mean, it goes way back to even just masks, that people wear. The computer, the internet world is sort of another mask that we can put on, and a buffer between us and, the other person, so we can behave in a way that maybe we're not proud of all the time. So it's good. It's a good study, I'm sure. So I guess we'll move along to the UnConvention now. How did you get involved in the UnConvention?
So I was doing social media for the Libertarian Party of Nebraska at the time, and I had just started to be successful. Like the first month or so, I was kind of feeling things out, and then I started really ramping up the views that we were getting. And the founder of the Roads to Freedom Foundation is David Pratt Demarest, who is currently the Region 6 representative for the Libertarian Party.
Okay.
He's just, well, not anymore. We just had our convention, so he is no longer the secretary of the state party. He's kind of pushing himself away from all of that and focusing in on this. And him and Joe Hawk, who was at the time our biggest county's head, they came to me and they're like, we really like what you're doing. Can you spare some time to do this as well? And I really liked the idea of approaching the movement not from the political side, but from the activist side and from the problem-solving side, because that's what the foundation is focused on.
Okay.
So.
Very cool. I think there's not enough of that. It's a good aim to have. Mm-hmm. And so when I was looking at the site, I checked out the speakers and things, and you guys have a lot of really, really great speakers. Just a few of them, because there were more than I expected.
We have 5 pages of speakers.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's not even all of them. Some of them haven't gone up yet.
Wow. So it's definitely going to be packed with information. So Dr. Ron Paul is going to be there. I know that's going to be a big draw for a lot of people. And Dr. Mary Ruart, which she's a personal favorite of mine. And I think she ran for the president. Was she a presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party or at one point? I believe. I could be wrong
So
about that.
the only times I've only spoken to her a couple times. Um, I when I've spoken to her, it's always been in the context of me trying to help promote like her books and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've done video work for her and Dr. Varner for the Liberty International that they're a
Mm-hmm.
part of.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Other than that, I haven't really been able to have a good long conversation with her. She's
sure.
really smart though, and a
Yeah,
very charming person.
she is. And her book, is it Healing Our World,
Yeah,
which I haven't read yet. I have her latest book. I just got the one about regulations. I haven't
Death by
read it yet.
Regulation.
Yes, Death by Regulation, which I'm really, really excited to read. But Healing Our World, when I have asked around before, like, what's your top libertarian book of all time that is great for getting people into the liberty movement and to thinking differently, that's one that always comes up. People always mention that one. So I've really got to read it. I think it's
Yeah.
it's
It's
a,
not the from because I kind of glanced through it when we were doing some of the interviews. It's not the kind of the dry because a lot of libertarian literature is very numbers based and
right.
analytical, and that's fine. I'm the kind of person though that if you want to get your message across to me, you need to tell me a story.
Sure.
Because like you can tell me logic and facts all day, and I'll understand it, but I'm not very
Hmm.
interested in it.
Right.
Like I came into the movement because my heroes are people who are anti-authoritarian, who believe in doing the right thing because it's the right thing, not because they're
Sure.
being forced to.
Right. Yeah. I think that's great. Libertarianism, it tends to be a more very logical, very facts, like you said, facts based, and
Mhm.
it can be kind of dry, especially when we're arguing things that are most people have never even considered. So we
Yeah.
have to sort of start from a really, really simplified version, and stories are such a great way to do that. I think you're right that maybe if we consider taking our personal experiences or the experiences of people we know and using those to reach out to others, I think that's going to have a far greater impact than talking to them about price controls or something.
Mhm.
Most people have never even considered that stuff. So,
Yeah.
you also have Larry Sharp
Mhm.
and Dr. Lee. I'm not sure how you say her. Is it he?
Lee Heeb Merritt.
Merritt, and she's a free market medical advocate. I guess,
Yeah.
and Adam Kokesh, Owen
Yes.
Benjamin, who has been around lately having some real problems with some progressives following him around. So that'll be cool to hear him. And when I think most people, he's become a cultural icon, is Vermin Supreme. That'll be really cool. That'll be cool
Yeah.
to get to hear him speak. You never know what Vermin Supreme's gonna say.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and Connor Boyack, who is my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter's favorite libertarian in the world, probably, because she loves those Tuttle Twins books. She actually told me one morning that she gets up most mornings and reads her Atlas Shrugged Tuttle Twins
Mhm.
books before she comes downstairs. So kind of shocked me, but there's just a ton of people that you're going to have there. So that's going to be. I know Nick Sarwark is going to be there, and Josh Smith, who is running for. They're both running for chair, but that's going to be an interesting bunch of people to be around. So
Yeah, definitely.
so
So one of the new ones that we actually added, or a couple of them, Nicholas Wieser from like Being Libertarian,
mm-hmm,
and like he watching him do multimedia work right now has just been really inspiring to me, and
sure.
it's really gotten me more into wanting to do the technical side of things, which is kind of where my focus is right now.
Yeah. God bless all you tech people. I don't technology very well, and so I think I have an effect on technology that it just knows. Like I'll be doing something and it won't be working for me, and the tech person will come over and it works just fine. So I don't know what I do, but I don't do it well. And we need that. I think that's such a big, important part of getting the message out these days is the internet and all the videos and just different things that weren't necessarily a part of anything 20 years ago. So it's really become, I think, the main way to get your message out, especially for little money. Online, on Facebook, you can reach a lot of people without a lot of money, and that's a really good thing. Who was the brainchild behind the UnConvention?
So the executive committee for the UnConvention is Joe Hawk, Heather Larson, who is really active in Nebraska as well, and then the founder is David Demarest. They had this vision of putting on conventions that were, they weren't business meetings, because,
Right.
When you have a business meeting going at the same time as a convention, a lot of times you're going to miss the really good speakers. Like, we were down in Texas advertising, and there was a panel that had Governor Weld, Senator Ebke, and Congressman Caleb Dyer and Brennan Finney.
Okay.
And, that's amazing to have that. And there was like 15 people in there. There was like, what did they have, like 300 to 400 in the main room talking whatever Texas was talking about at the time. And it's like, you all missed out, because that was an amazing conversation, just to sit there and listen to them talk about the things that we need to do on the like the political side. And so what we want to do is get away from all that stuff and have breakout sessions about, how can the free market improve education? How can it improve healthcare? What can we do for free speech? What is the importance of blockchain?
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that we're focused on. And we also like to focus on the cultural parts of this too, because frankly, the statist progressives have dominated the culture war, and we need to not let that happen if we want to see liberty in any form.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That what you're saying about being able to see the speakers and have the breakout sessions. Sometimes I've been to different conventions where there's a lot of great speakers and they have a lot of great things, and you want to do more than you can because they've got so many of the things you want to do scheduled at the same time. So I think that's great.
And that will be a bit of a problem, because our lineup is so stacked that you will be forced to make some tough choices. There's just no way around that. But no matter how you choose, you're going to get some good information and a good discussion. And some laughs. We got the Liberty memes. Oh, jeez, my head is swimming at this point. They're gonna come and work with Being Libertarian to do a panel on like crap posting on Facebook, and it's like, okay, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I think that's really cool, because since you bring up memes are such a great tool. And I think they can really be, that's what they're intended to do, is convey a whole idea in one picture or a couple of pictures. And I can't imagine life without memes anymore. Like, we even find ourselves discussing memes at, just conversations with friends. We're like, have you seen that meme where, so I think those are really great, because they can get your ideas across, and often in a funny way that makes people think it kind of is disarming. Just like, being funny, interjecting humor into things can often soften the idea that you're trying to get across to people. So I think that's a brilliant session to have on how to do that and how to really get, edit down your message. It's kind of like Twitter, where you want to say something, you have to figure out how to edit it down to so many words. And I think that's a good mental exercise that we can all benefit from. Yeah. Yep.
And like, no one wants to admit it, but the youth vote did not go the way that they thought it was going to in the last election. And you can make a strong case that memes won that election for Trump.
Yeah, I was amazed at how many young people really were behind Trump, and not just that's who I'm voting for, but we're like, wearing their, MAGA hats and walking around just so fired up. And I thought, how in the world is this guy doing that? Like, he doesn't fire me up at all.
And, yeah, what I think it was is he was so bad that it was like there was a swell of people who were like, this system is so messed up that we're going to put the most inept person that we can find in charge of it to prove how ridiculous it is. I genuinely think that was the swing in that election.
It's sort of,
because most of these kids don't believe in his ideology.
I think it was a lot like what I saw with Obama. And I'm sure probably George Bush too. I don't remember it as much though, but is that, I remember President Obama when he was on the campaign trail, he talked a lot about hope and change, and that was over and over again it was said, but I was always asking myself, well, what does that mean? But if you're not paying attention, then you're not necessarily asking yourself that. You kind of fill in the blanks with what hope means to you and what change means to you. It doesn't necessarily mean, though, what he's saying it means. So I think...
You could say the same thing with that MAGA stuff. Like, you can fill in the blanks.
And I think that's what it really... the similarities, like the parallels, because like with Make America Great Again, well, what does that mean to you? Like, is that the 50s that people think we're so great that we're just super authoritarian? Like, so you kind of just fill in whatever it is you think was great about America or is great. And it's not necessarily what the politician is actually talking about, because as we know, they're generally just saying what they need to say. So, and I think with President Trump's way of speaking, his mannerisms, where he's so confident, and no matter what he's saying, even if he's saying something utterly ridiculous, he's confident about it. And people really are drawn to that kind of confidence. They see that as leadership, whether they're making sense or not. So it kind of, it helps if you're already a part of that tribe and he's your guy and you get fired up or whatever. But yeah, I think it's that repeating of the same phrases over and over again, the same words, and just his general confidence.
Well, on the flip side of that coin, you had the other party, the other, the Democrats, sitting there saying everyone is racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, transphobe, Islamophobe. When you throw those labels out as easily as they were doing, you are telling... Like, people will eventually begin to associate with those things. And, we know that we're not those things. But if you tell us that we are so much, we're going to start looking for the other people that you are saying that about and be like, well, they must be my allies. So I think that had a lot to do with it, too.
I think, it's still, it happens so much that people are called racist so much now that it doesn't... We're like, okay, I was called racist 3 times online today. It's almost like a badge of honor because you triggered some, progressive. And so I think they've really shot themselves in the foot with that because, racism does exist. There are instances of it. And when you call everything racist, though, it really dilutes those instances of actual racism, so that people don't pay attention anymore because everything is called racist or everything is called, like you said, homophobic or Islamophobic or whatever they add a phobic to. It's gotten to where people aren't paying attention to that stuff anymore because you're like the boy who cried wolf. They're just tired of hearing it. And so, I don't know. I like watching people kind of, destroy their own point, their own positions with that way, but it certainly doesn't add any, pleasure or happiness or joy to the world. So I would love to see a change in that, and we've got it on the our side too, as well as conservatives. Everybody's a snowflake, and I'm not above calling people a snowflake at times. So
I cut that word out of my vocabulary as quickly as I could. And that's not anything against anyone who hasn't. It's just, to me, when I see that pretty often now, because you see a lot of people who are Republicans use that, and they are some of the
Right.
most easily triggered people you can find. So it's like, at this point, most of the time when someone says snowflake, I'm like, oh, I'm dealing with a real
Right.
snowflake
Yeah,
right
because I
now.
think too, it's try criticizing a cop or the military, or saying people don't have to say the pledge or sing the national anthem to a person on the right, and watch them go into nuclear meltdown. Like it's a pretty sad thing to see. But yeah, I think often when people use those words, they're just out of arguments, and they don't want to think. They don't
Yeah.
want to change their mind. They want to address the other person's argument, so they just call them the name and move on. Which
One of the most fun things for me is when I'll get into any kind of like, kids should stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and
right.
blah blah blah, and I'll be like, I don't think they should have to. That's kind of contrary to our
Yeah.
laws, first off. And you'll get someone who's like, well, you obviously blah blah blah.
Right.
It's like, well, a 3-year combat veteran.
Right.
Try again.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. If you criticize the military, it's, well, did you serve? And if you say no, well, they just write you off right away. But like in your case, and say like Adam Kokesh's case, other people who have actually served, they still don't want to hear them, and they still call them names. But it carries a lot more weight when someone has actually served and come out with a different sort of mindset than maybe others have. So I think those are
Yeah.
good things. Those are good, that you have that to add to your arsenal. Because I can be right about it, but it doesn't.
That's my guilty pleasure in trolling, is baiting people into saying, well, you obviously have never, and be like, I got the tattoo to prove it.
It was real. It happened.
You
So
know?
back to the UnConvention here for a little bit. I noticed it said that in the website that it was a full-fledged, world-class international foundation, that is the Roads to Freedom Foundation. Yes, and so they're putting it on, and they mentioned that the foundation will feature a comprehensive get stuff done activism, which I thought was really cool.
Yes.
And then maybe you can explain this a little bit. They said there's a Patrick Henry action agenda, which includes event promotion, fundraising, entrepreneur support, peer-to-peer and blockchain technologies, multifaceted outreach, messaging technique strategy, and bottom-up candidate support. And then there was the Ralph Waldo Emerson Institute that will focus on training action agenda activists and challenging the intellectually inclined with classes and things like that. And then there was another one, the Henry David Thoreau Foundation, or part of that was, or that's part of the Emerson Foundation. I'm not sure how is structured, as I guess what I'm asking.
So where is this
Oh,
on the website? I don't always go on the
yeah,
website. I'm sorry.
I couldn't tell you at the moment where it is on there. I'm sure it was just under information about the foundation. But that's okay. I mean, if you're not familiar with that part of it, that's fine. We can just.
So that's talking about. Oh, here we go. I'm not 100% sure
Okay.
what that's about, because I am laser focused on making this
Sure.
event go off.
It's a lot of work.
When this event is over, I will, because right now I'm the new media director.
Yeah.
Too many titles. For the foundation, but every bit of my focus is actually new media for the UnConvention. So the things that they're doing on the back end for the foundation, I'm not 100% sure what's going on, because it's just not important to me
Sure.
at the moment. A month from now, I could probably tell you a lot more about that. What I would say is we are focused on creating the structures to replace government.
That's great.
Like free market solutions for education and healthcare, and blockchain are our three big
Great.
things right now. We're going to work with Dr. Ruart, Varner, Wehebe, all of these incredibly smart people to come up with a comprehensive plan to find free market solutions in healthcare, which is desperately needed because we like, and this is my words here, not them, but the way I look at it is we can't go to the public and be like, we need to get government out of this when so many people rely on the government. We need to have the structures in place to say, come to this thing because it's better than what you have and it will be better for you. And then we get people to that thing and then the government goes away because no one's using it.
So I do think that that's a really good place to begin. I was talking with some friends just over, many conversations actually about how to get people to, getting rid of the state is a very difficult concept for most people because we're all taught from the time we're really little that we need to rely on the state and that it's, kind of like this overseeing all, good sort of for everyone, wants the best. And like, it's just not true when you really look at what it does for people. So giving them something more concrete that they can sort of grab onto, because often when you talk about replacing, say healthcare with free market alternatives, people really have a hard time imagining that world. And so to bring that into a concrete form that they can really start to look at and see, oh, well, this would actually give me more agency in my own life, I think it is really a great place to start. So I admire that sort of vision from you guys to do that. I noticed too that on the website it said that it's a family-friendly event, which I thought was really, really cool. Because a lot of times, you want to go do things that you have to figure out where to send your kids for. How many days is this going on? Like 4 days, 3 days?
So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, asterisk. If you show up Thursday night, we're having a party.
Okay, that'd be fun. So it's a few days, and you have to figure out what you're going to do with your children. And this way too, it's kind of, if you can bring your kids along, they're in that same kind of get in the habit of being active in the Liberty community and making friends and connections and sort of getting them active in solving the issues that it's going to take their generation to carry on after we get something started, that they're going to build onto that hopefully. So I think that's really fantastic. I don't know of a lot of other I don't know that I know of any other libertarian conventions that do that. There may be, but I'm just not aware of it. So I think that's a really great thing. Do you know anything about what you're going to have available for kids?
So there's while the adults are doing their thing, I don't want to call it like a daycare,
sure,
but there's events for the children, and I should have anticipated this and asked our children's director, but so there's someone in our group who is specifically focused on making that part of the convention go off.
Mm-hmm.
So they have something planned for all 3 days, I think. So that while you're doing cool stuff, your kids will be doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
I know that there's a clown.
Oh, really?
And someone who makes balloon animal things.
Interesting side tip. I used to work as a clown.
Oh, yeah?
When I lived in Colorado years ago, a friend of mine opened a business and doing that kind of work, and I had been obsessed with clowns when I was a little kid, so I went to actually the Barnum and Bailey youth clown school thing they were doing as a little deal, and I really enjoyed that. And then I did it as an adult at parties and things like that. So just a little side note. I don't usually get to share that, but I'm not really into clowning anymore.
My aunt does some clown stuff. She's like a physical therapist. So when she goes to work with kids, she'll dress up as a clown and do a
Oh,
lot of
that's
cool stuff.
cool.
So
That's really cool. Yeah, I saw that they had some events just for teens as well, so that they're not kind of stuck with little kids all day, but they've got stuff to
yeah,
do too. So I think that's really great. It sounds like a really good time, a really informative time, and something I'm more interested to learn about for sure. I had never heard of the Unconvention before, but I've only been with the Libertarian Party for about 9 or 10 months.
hmm
And I've been a libertarian for longer than that, but I wasn't really plugged into any
yeah,
kind of liberty movement stuff. So,
yeah.
how long has it been around?
This is our first one.
It is. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So that
Uh,
should be fun.
Yeah. So there's been growing pains, and there will be hiccups at this convention
Yeah.
because we've never done it before. But um, a lot of people haven't done things before,
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to get good at it, you got to start doing it.
Yeah. It's,
Until like a year ago, I'd never done video editing, and it scared the crap out of me. But
right.
now I have videos going up on Larry Sharp's page because someone had to do it.
Right.
So
That's
that's
cool.
kind of
Yeah.
that's how we feel about it. Someone has to do it.
Right. It's like parenting. People are like, well, I don't know if I'm ready, and they keep putting it out. I mean, they may not be ever ready, but it's one of those things you just have to kind of jump in and do, but you're never ready for it, really. It's so much more work than you ever thought it would be, and it's so much more rewarding as well. And I think that's in putting on large events like that. I've been a part of working at some large events before, and just all the logistics of everything you have to do and
Yep.
everything you have to plan, it is a ton of work. It's much more work than anyone would think. There's so much
Our
in the back end you don't see.
yeah, our goal is, you know, 2020, 2022, that the libertarian affiliates are big enough that maybe they don't want to deal with the hassle of doing their convention. Well, we'll come do your convention for you. Um,
Yeah, sort of.
and it's like who else does that? Like who puts on conventions? Who is a think tank for free market healthcare and education? No one. And this is really frustrating. In the liberty movement, not enough people are talking about blockchain.
Right.
Like the Mises Caucus guys are
Yeah.
really about it,
Yeah.
and uh, the Libertarian Party itself seems to be very behind on that kind of thing, and we should be the home of that whole culture.
Yeah.
But so if someone else isn't going to do it, well, then we have to.
Yeah,
And
I
that's it.
know. I'm just, I do have some invested in cryptocurrencies. I can't say that I understand it or that I really care to understand it all that well. But I was talking with Michael Heiss from the Mises
Yep.
Caucus just yesterday and today, and he's so inspirational when he talks about it. Like, you get excited about it, even though I'm not the person that's ever going to be an expert on that. And I just get excited when I hear him or other people who are really knowledgeable about what that can do to transform our world. It's really some incredible stuff, and I look forward to seeing more of that branched out, and what it can do for society in general and business. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a place where the libertarians and the Libertarian Party specifically can kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit and be involved with that. So it
And
sounds
I want to say this real quick,
sure.
and this is just me. This isn't any of the roles that I'm involved in. It's just me. I am so proud of that guy over the last year, actually half a year, really.
Uh-huh.
Watching him go from being very passionate but not very in control of his message
Right.
to now he still ruffles feathers, but he's just getting so much done. I'm very proud to have to watch him do that and to see the growth there. And I say the same thing about Joshua Smith, watching him develop into a grassroots powerhouse is just inspiring to me.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I had mentioned that to Mike as well. It's really great to see people, even, look back at myself from a year ago and how much I've changed, and, other people, to see that growth in them as they get involved, because I think that's what keeps so many people back is, well, I don't know how to do that. And it's the same here. I didn't know how to do a lot of the stuff I just started doing it because it was an opportunity, and I thought, well, I'm going to take it. And I think that's what happens for a lot of people is they get involved with things and they find out what they're good at and find out what they're not so good at. And then they can sort of hone those skills and become better and better. And it is really a beautiful thing to see a person kind of come into their own. Even people that I don't necessarily agree with, I've enjoyed watching their progression, their growth, just as, human to human, and seeing someone really refine themselves and just try to, grow and be a better person, or do their job in a better way. And I know that as I get older, it's really more important to me now to do a good job than it ever really was before. So I think I've always had a strong work ethic, but I really want to leave something behind. When I'm gone, I want to leave some kind of legacy. Whether people know my name or not is not important, but did I leave the world better than I found it? And that's really important to me. And I think to you guys doing this, of course, must be important to you, because you don't go through that kind of headache and work in order to just, not have anything, not make anything better. So I really commend you guys for what you're doing, and I look forward to hearing about it. Maybe next year it's something I'll be able to attend. That would be really great, because it it just sounds like a really great vision that you guys have, and something that I could get on board with. So where can people learn more about the UnConvention and find information on it and tickets, all those types of things?
All right, so the tickets are at omahaunconvention.com. You will want to use the keyword Roads to Freedom. It'll give you 20%, that's one word, the number 2. That'll give you 20% off the ticket price.
Cool.
A ticket just to get in is $50, and that's for 3 days.
Wow.
And then if you use the discount code, it goes to $40. If you use the discount code, you can get in on the meet and greet and shake Ron Paul's hand for $160.
Wow, that would be cool.
So
that'd be really cool.
I mean, it's not the convention cost. It's getting to Omaha.
Sure.
We're in the middle of everything, but it does mean that then everyone has to travel a little bit to get here.
Sure.
So
yeah, it's very reasonably priced. Most things are not that inexpensive. Almost just for 2 people to go to the movies now is almost $50. So
yeah, when we take the girls to a movie, I'm dropping $70 to $80.
Yeah, so it's this way you're going to get 3 days, maybe 4 of great fellowship with like-minded people. You're going to learn a lot, have a good time, and support people who are actually doing things in the Liberty movement. So I really appreciate you being on, Zachary. And
thank you for having me.
Do you have a website that people can go check out your podcast at?
Yeah, so that's roads2liberty.com.
Okay.
Everything that we do ends up on there eventually.
Okay,
so
that's like your catch-all then. So if you want to know anything that's going on with you or with the UnConvention, you can go there and find out. All right.
So the other thing is we're on Facebook. It's RTFF UnConvention, or with the podcast, it's just Roads to Liberty.
Okay.
So
great. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you the best with your venture into new realms of reaching out to people in this convention. So
well, thank you.
Good luck. Take care.
Thanks.
So we've been speaking a lot about conventions, and I wanted to talk a little bit about a festival, and that is one that's been going on for, I believe it's the 15th year now, is Pork Fest up in New Hampshire, going on from June 19th through the 24th. You guys should join me there. I'm going to be there. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to do a live podcast from there. And they're going to have some really awesome speakers. One is, of course, Ben Swan. He's got the best hair in Liberty, I swear. And David Friedman is going to be there. He's always really, really interesting, smart guy. Be really interested to see what he has to say. Mr. Eric July is going to be there, and I'm totally going to fangirl over that. I love Backwards, and Backwards is going to perform a concert at the end of Pork Fest. That's going to be great. Jeffrey Tucker, probably one of the nicest guys in libertarianism. Also, just an amazing intellect. Lynn Ulbricht, and that will be a really, really interesting conversation to hear what she has to say about her son Ross, who is in prison for the Silk Road deal that he allegedly did. So we get to hear that. Scott Horton, that's going to be a really interesting conversation. So they've just got a ton of great speakers. There's going to be fancy dress and parties and stuff for the kids. It's a family-friendly event, so they've got a lot of things lined up that looks like a really fun time. So this will be my first time attending, and I'm super excited. So if you want to join us there, you can use the code SHERRY10, SHERRY 10, and get 10% off your tickets. So go check out the site, take a look, and come and see us at Pork Fest.